All right. Well, I know most of you. I am Kate Saffel. If we have not met before, I am a certified simplicity parenting family life coach. And I generally work with moms to help them overcome overwhelm and to align with their lives' goals and their purpose. And what I have found is that there is such a need for partners to be on the same page and for couples to be able to work together to create a vision for their family. Hence, this whole webinar was born. And I really saw this as an ideal time for us to think about where we are going in the future. Lately, things have been changing so much. What we considered our old normal has been completely disrupted, and we're being asked to move into a new normal. Now, what that is for you is going to be very unique as compared to what it is for me or for anyone else who is watching this. But that is the beauty of it, is that we all get to create a unique story for our families. So why does this matter, and why is this so important to me? Well, about 6 years, my family and I found ourselves going on a very different path than the one that we had anticipated. So we had kind of done everything that you're supposed to do. We had, gone to school, we got married, started a family, all of the very normal American steps that we take. But we found that we were really dissatisfied. We felt very disconnected from what we thought it was that we were supposed to be doing as a family, but we didn't really have a lot of clarity on what that was. We just knew that we felt very stuck. We wanted to have a greater purpose for raising our family. And so about 6 years ago in 2014, I came across this family that was traveling full-time in an Airstream, and they had sold all their belongings. Many of you have heard this story, but for me, that was so inspirational. And when I shared it with my husband and I was like, hey, we should go travel around the country with our kids, he was like, you're crazy. He couldn't see why I would want to do that. But as we began to discuss it more, and we clarified what our values were, and we figured out what our life purpose was, it began to make more and more sense. So about 5 to 6 years ago was really when we got clear on our values. And this was a piece of the puzzle for us. It influenced how we lived our days, and we made some changes so that we could live by our values. But we found that we weren't quite clear on what our purpose was. And so about 3 years ago was when Kirk, my husband, and I really drew a line in the sand of like, this is what we are called to do in this lifetime. And so we began to move toward that. But we found that we would start back over. We would encounter an obstacle or something, and we would feel like we would go back to square one. And we couldn't figure out why. It was like, why do we keep getting stuck? Because we knew what we wanted our family to pursue. We knew where we were going, but we didn't have all the tools to get there. And so for us, the final piece was our mindset. And that is what really made it possible for us to accomplish all the things that we have done. And at this point, what our end goal is that we are right at is that we are both working in my business, my husband more behind the scenes, me doing this kind of work and working one-on-one to teach my clients and to coach them. Because our family's purpose is to travel and have these experiences with our kids and to create a lifetime of memories together. So in today's class, what I want to teach you is a few things. First, I'm going to teach you how to identify your values and why they matter so much. Then we're going to talk about your purpose, both your individual purpose, so if you're in a relationship for both of you, as well as your collective purpose as a family. And then next, I will teach you about mindset and how to really use that to your advantage to help you reach your family's vision. We'll talk specifically about your family vision, and then I'm going to give you some tips for how to work together as a couple to make that happen. So I hope you all are excited, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into the class. So before we get started, it's really helpful to kind of assess where you currently are. Do you have a game plan for the next 12 months of what it is you're trying to accomplish as a family? What about the next 5 years? Are you in touch with your life purpose? Do you know why you are on earth and what it is that you are called to do? And do you have a game plan for getting there? So again, those are just kind of little touch points for you to get a little more clarity of where you're currently at. Because if we don't know where we're at, it's hard to know where it is that we are going. Okay, so we're going to start first with your values. Your values are the roadmap for your family. They are a way of determining exactly what it is that you believe as a family and how you want to spend your time and your money, right? Because those are finite resources. So when we have clarity around our values, we can then figure out where it is that we're going. So do you currently know your values? Do you have a good grip on what is most important to you as a family? There are a few ways to find clarity around these. There's a few different exercises you can do. And I'm going to email all of this to you after this class so that you can kind of go through it later. But one of the things that you can do is you can look back at your parents and your grandparents and reflect on their characteristics and the life choices that they made and whether or not they resonate with you. Or maybe they did things that you want nothing to do with, right? You know, because that's the beauty of having our own families, is that we get to decide what we want to retain and what we want to leave in the past. Another thing that you can do is an exercise called the Perfect Day exercise. I usually do this with my clients because it's one of my favorites. But when you do this exercise, you sit down as a family or as a couple and you think through what would be your absolutely perfect day if there were no limitations such as time, money, resources, all of that. So what would you do? Who would you be with? Where would you go? And when we answer those questions, it just gives us greater clarity on the values that are most important to us. And then finally, another way to identify your values is to imagine that your children are out of the house and they're grown up. What are the attributes that you hope that they hold as adults? What are some of the lessons that you desire for them to learn before they are out of your house? These also will give you some good indications of the values that are most important to you. So when you are creating your values list, there are a few things that you want to do. You want to make sure that you are very specific, and specifically when you use language to describe it. So instead of just saying, for instance, kindness is a value, you might want to say something like, we value kindness because we want to use our time and money to serve others in our community, right? So it just gives a little bit more detail and clarity for how you are planning to show up for that value. I really recommend that you create a list and keep it in a place in your house that the whole family can see. And you can also start weaving it into the language that you use with your kids. So we might say like, hey kids, you know, instead of staying in today and watching a movie, we're gonna go to a park and go for a walk because we really value spending time outdoors and in nature together, okay? So again, kind of using that language. And then finally, you can use that list as a sort of litmus test. When anything new comes into your life, you can check it against your values and determine if you want to say yes or not, all right? If something doesn't align with your values, then that gives you full permission to say no to accepting any new responsibility. So your action step this week for your values is to sit down together and go through these exercises that I mentioned and make your family value list. Okay, so then the next piece of what I mentioned for creating your family vision is to identify your purpose. If your values are the why, then your purpose is the how, and these two work together so well. Your purpose is why you are here on earth. It's what you are called to do. And you and your partner both have your own unique purpose. It could be the way that you are showing up as a mother for your family. It could be a business that you want to start. It could be, creating music or art, or really anything could be your purpose. But you are meant to be the hero in your own story, right? We don't want life to just be happening to us. And if you are feeling that way, if you feel like every day is looking the same, if you feel very disconnected from what it is that's most important to you, my guess is that you need to get a little bit more connected to what your life purpose is. Within a family, everyone has a purpose as well, even our children. And our task as their parents is to create the space for them to grow into whatever that purpose is. And by living our own calling, we are modeling that for them. We are showing them that it is worth it to, fight the good fight for what it is that we are supposed to be doing. Because it's so much easier, right, to just kind of say, okay, well, I have this good paying job, and I have all this security and stability, so I'm going to keep doing something that I really hate because it's too hard to pursue what it is that I really desire. But as we're going to see here in a moment, this is such a crucial step to the family vision that you're creating over the long term. So I want to encourage you that if you feel like your purpose is out of reach, to dig a little bit deeper into why it is that you are scared of pursuing it, and then see what the steps are to actually reach it, because it may not be as far out of reach as you think. I know for Kirk and I, what we're currently doing should have been so out of reach that it should have been impossible. For me to start a business with 3 young kids at home that is successful and is supporting our family, that seems like that should have been impossible. Or for my husband, Kirk, who is a musician, to be able to write and record his own EP, to play shows, again, with us having a family, probably should have been impossible. But because this was our desire, and because we took the steps together as a team, we have made this our reality. So this is kind of my hope for all of you watching, is that this can be your reality as well, to step into whatever it is that you feel called to do. So if you aren't sure what is your life's purpose, and I often see this with moms who have, they are putting everything into raising their kids, and they're not quite sure what's important to them. Maybe their purpose is just motherhood right now. Maybe this is the season that they're in. Or maybe, like me, they find themselves concurrently having 2 purposes. Mine is motherhood, as well as serving others who are mothers and families. So there are some exercises and some questions that you can ask yourself to get really connected with it. One of them is just to reflect on when you were a kid. What did you love doing? What were you really good at? What did you see yourself becoming as an adult? Did you even get close to that? Did you, in your current career, are you as connected as to what you wanted as a child? We can also look to the other end of our life and think about when we are at, facing death, and we think about our life and we reflect back on the decisions we made. What is it that we hope that we would have done? What will we regret if we don't pursue it? So again, that might shed a little light on the path it is that you are meant to take. Now, something I see with couples sometimes is that it can seem like what they desire cannot be pursued concurrently, that it's only possible for one person in the relationship to have a purpose. And that is not true. What you will find is that when you commit to this journey together, it will create the path for you, and it is possible to pursue both at the same time. And like I said, I'm going to give you some more tips here when we get toward the end of how to do this as a team, because it's something that has been such a game changer for my husband and I want this for all of you as well. So your action step for figuring out your life purpose is to spend maybe 20 minutes this week really reflecting on these questions of, what did you enjoy doing as a kid? Or when you daydream, what is it you see yourself doing at the end of your life? What regrets will you have if you don't accomplish X, Y, and Z? And get really clear on your life purpose. And then the 2 of you come together and kind of compare them and talk about how you can support each other in pursuing your individual purposes. Okay. All right. So the last piece of creating your family vision is your mindset. The mindset part was the biggest game changer for Kirk and I. Like I mentioned earlier, every time we faced obstacles, we would get defeated and we would get negative, and we would just talk ourselves out of what we were doing, which ultimately meant that we restarted every single time. And so if I can save all of you from spending years trying to get to your family's dream, then I will have done my job. So our mindset is really the fuel behind all of this. And I'm going to teach you a little bit about how to use your mindset to your advantage. So we all face circumstances in life, and these are just events or situations that are neutral, meaning they have no meaning to them until we hold a thought about them. Our thoughts are ideas in our heads, right? You know, and you have about 60,000 of them every single day. A lot of them are just mindless chatter, but some of them become really repetitive and, negative, and might tell us that we can't do something or it's not possible for us. And those are the ones that we really want to identify, because when we are having negative thoughts, they create feelings in our body, whether that's feeling sad, disconnected, frustrated, feeling like a failure. And ultimately, those feelings impact our actions or how we show up in the world. So the thoughts that you hold create the feelings that you experience, influence your actions, and ultimately become your outcomes in life. So if you've ever thought like, man, I keep trying to do this one thing over and over again and I'm not getting any farther, you may want to look at the thoughts that you're holding about yourself and whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. And then once you are aware of those thoughts that are holding you back, you can go through the work to start changing them. So something that I highly recommend, specifically when it comes to creating your family's vision, is once you have that clarity of where you are going, you create that vision in your mind every single day. And by doing this, we are kind of almost like reprogramming our brain. We want to think of our brain like a computer, and it has this old software that wants to go on this one path. Well, we want to reprogram our computer so that we can pivot and go a different direction. And the only way you're going to be able to do that is by continually inputting and reprogramming the program that is in your head. So 2 tools that I recommend doing every single day, or as often as you can, because I know with children, sometimes we can't always fit these things into our morning routine. But these are to do a daily gratitude list and a daily joyful and expectant list. So the daily gratitude list is just filling a piece of paper with everything that you are grateful for. And the reason that we do this is because it creates that feeling of having enough, of having abundance and contentment. And when we are in that place of feeling happy and aligned, we are then able to go after whatever actions it is that we need to take to create the outcome that we desire. So gratitude, in a nutshell, puts us in the right headspace to create the life that we want. And then the second piece, the joyful and expectant list, you do the same thing with a piece of paper and you write, I am joyful and expectant for, and these are all the things that you're actively creating in your life. So I do this every single day. I write down all of the things that I am personally pursuing, that we are pursuing as a family. And this means that I am constantly thinking about it, which then in turn inspires my actions that I take every single day. So this means I am very purposeful in how I am showing up, and I truly believe that these will be beneficial for you as well. Okay, so your action step for your mindset is to take 20 minutes this week, and I want you to journal on all of the reasons why you are feeling like you can't accomplish what it is that you want to do as a family. All of those kind of like negative thoughts that keep spiraling, keep popping back up, and get them on paper. And then ask yourself, what do I need to believe to make my family's dream, our vision, a reality. So you're providing your brain with new evidence of this being possible for you, your partner, and your family. Okay, so we have covered your values, your purpose, your mindset. Very quickly, I know that this is like a pretty fast overview, but those are the 3 tools that you're going to use all together to create your family vision. And when you imagine these 3, what kind of life is big enough to hold all of them? This would be your family vision. So often, fear is the biggest thing that holds us back from accomplishing anything we want in life, from the smallest little goal to completely changing the way that you live. And I get it. It's scary to think about changing things up, because if you have the security of jobs or your home or a certain lifestyle, it can feel intimidating to think about changing all of that. But I want to encourage you to remember that you have a purpose in this life. Whatever it is calling to you, and overcoming that fear is going to bring you to such a greater path for you and your family. It's hard to see it now, but it will be worth the overcoming of all of the negative ideas and all of the fear that you're currently facing. So one of the ways that you can create your vision is through visualization. There is this author who has written many books on mindset, and his name is Robin Sharma. And he says that everything is created twice, first in the mind and then in reality. Spending time with your partner and even as a family, visualizing whatever it is that your family's dream can be so powerful. So there was something that we used to do as a family, and this sounds kind of silly to say this out loud, but it is such an effective tool that I'm willing to share it with you all in the hopes that it is beneficial to you as well. So we would do something that we called make believe. Kind of like children do, right, when they are playing their games and they're toddlers and preschoolers. Well, adults can do this as well. See, early on in our journey, when we really wanted to travel full-time as a family, and we wanted to have that experience with our kids of seeing the national parks and going to the ocean and visiting museums and doing all of that, we weren't quite sure how we were going to get there, because it was pretty daunting to think of, how are we going to work from the road? How are we going to just like uproot and sell our house and do all of that? So we started by taking little weekend trips to give us that experience of what it was that we were pursuing. And then we would have conversations as if we were already living this full-time travel life. So my husband Kirk and I would talk with the kids, and we'd be like, wow, kids, look, we're almost to the ocean, and what do you see? And they would just love this game so much. And they would be like, we see dolphins and we see whales. And what are we going to do tonight when we get back to our campsite? We're going to have a bonfire and we're going to have s'mores. And it was something that became almost tangible. And again, I know as adults, we think, okay, that's super silly. Only kids do that. But there's a reason why kids believe that anything is possible for them and why adults don't believe that. So I want to encourage you to give your brain examples of how this could happen so that eventually it becomes your reality. So I want to encourage you this week, after you have identified your values, you have worked on figuring out your life purpose, and you've identified those negative thoughts that are impacting your mindset, I want you to sit down as a family and talk about what it is that you're creating. It doesn't have to be something like traveling the US in an RV like we did. Believe me, it could just be that you want to start serving in your community as a family, and you want to start helping others, or maybe you're really creative and you want to create an art project together. Whatever it is, whether it's small or big, get it down on paper and commit to it. Kind of draw a line in the sand and say, okay, this is who we are as a family, and this is where we are going. So how do we do this as a couple, right? Because there's two people in a relationship, and sometimes we don't always see eye to eye, and there's communication issues. Partnering together as a team is going to be your greatest asset in moving your family forward. You will find that you will get so much farther faster simply by being on the same team. You have to get clear on your why. Why are you doing this? Why are you willing to make the sacrifices to create this life that you desire? And then you do this together. So here are my favorite tips that we've kind of figured out the hard way over the years, but they have been so beneficial to Kirk and I as we have transitioned to this life that we desire for our family. So the first one is there are no bad ideas. Whenever you and your partner are talking together and you're brainstorming and you're visualizing, there's no criticism, there's no blame, there's no talking about the past, okay? We're future focused and we're supportive of one another, okay? No bad ideas. Secondly, you want to support your mindset with motivating and inspirational content, whether that's books, podcasts, articles, documentaries, you name it. And I highly recommend watching and reading these together and then seeing what conversations come from it. You're going to be exposed to so many great tools from all of the amazing teachers and leaders that are putting out free content. It's like so widely available, and use those tools to fuel the life that you are creating. Next, I want to encourage you to create a united front. Again, this means that you are committed to this path together, you communicate this to your kids, and you talk about it as if this is a collective goal for all of you. You might use language such as, we as a family are committed to this, or we as a family are going to do this. And it's that kind of language that makes everyone feel like they belong and they're in on this mission together. Another thing I recommend is creating a vision board. This is a highly effective tool that has been very beneficial for us. What you do is you create, like a poster board or something on your wall that has images of the life that you are creating. For me, I print out, and I'm looking at mine right now, it's like this, whole part of the wall. You can print out pictures from the internet that represent the life that it is that you want to create. And every time you look at that, you're reminded of where you are heading. You can each create one, both of you in the relationship. You can create a family one. We also have a family vision board that we created with our kids, and they loved this process because then they get to have kind of a voice in the life that they're creating with their parents, which is just really cool. It's really cool to kind of be all in this together. And then I want to also encourage you to not get hung up on the nitty-gritty details of how you are going to actually make whatever this transition for your family look like. So for me, this was always very hard because I wanted to control every little aspect of, okay, how are we going to make this happen? And what are our finances going to look like? And wait, what are you going to do for work? I mean, you get the drift, right? I want to encourage you to release and let go of the how. Because when you are committed to your why, the how will come to you. And I know that sounds vague and a little out there, but I promise you that you don't have to know all the steps. You just have to know the next step that you're going to take. You take that one and then you'll go to the next one and on, okay? So don't get stuck on all the little details because they just really don't matter. And then finally, I want to remind you that you are modeling all of this for your children. So you want to show them what it looks like to be deeply connected to your values and your life purpose. You guys are like the heroes for them. They look up to you. So be someone that they look up to, right? Live the life that you were called to live. Okay, so I want to encourage you guys to go ahead and take a moment to kind of type up any questions you have in the question box. That's kind of the bulk of what I wanted to teach for today. But I did want to tell you guys just very briefly about a new coaching program that I am going to be offering going forward. If all of this sounds like something that you want to work on, I am going to be introducing a coaching program specifically for couples to help them unite in their purpose and their values to fast track to the vision that they want to create for themselves and their family. And the reason I created this is because, like I said, it took us about 6 years to get to this point. So if I can save anyone that time and all of that effort so that you can do it much more quickly with support, then that is an ideal thing for me. That helps me to fulfill my life purpose, by helping you find yours. So this is a 6-month coaching program, and it includes support for both partners. So each month of the program, there will be one call for each of you, as well as a joint Zoom call, so that we can kind of all work together as a team to make sure that you are staying on track with reaching your goal. So this is for you if you are tired of feeling stuck and disconnected and wanting to come together closer as a family to unite in your life purpose. This is also for you if you feel like you kind of did everything right with, doing all of the steps of being a responsible adult, and yet you don't quite feel like you're where you're supposed to be. And this is also for you if you want to become more united as a couple, to have that common language, to feel more greatly connected and working together toward the future that you desire for yourselves and your family. So if this sounds like something you're interested in, feel free to email me, hello@thestreamlinedlife.com, to schedule a consult so we can kind of talk about what it is that you want to accomplish and a path for getting there. So, and then I will also be emailing all of you my notes and questions from this class, as well as a resource list with everything that has helped Kirk and I over the last 6 years. So that's going to be books that we read, podcasts we listened to, articles that were helpful, and tools that helped us to reach this level of growth that we wanted for ourselves and our families. So are there any questions? Kind of looking at the chat box. I know this was a lot of material. Okay. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here. And if you think of any questions, feel free to email me. You know how to reach me, and I will be following up via email. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your afternoon. I hope that this information helps inspire you and your family in creating the path that it is that you desire. So thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you all soon. Bye. Thank you.